Hyunwoo rubbed his tired eyes and stared at the screen in front of him. It was another quiet night at Sentinel-7, the monitoring station at the edge of known space. Nothing ever happened here. That was the point. This station watched the empty darkness beyond the last colonies where no ships traveled and no planets existed. It was the most boring job in the entire Galactic Coalition. His partner, Bora, walked over with 2 cups of synthetic coffee. She was young, barely out of training, and still complained about how dull their work was. Hyunwoo had stopped complaining years ago. He just accepted the boredom now. Another exciting night, Bora said with heavy sarcasm. She handed him a cup and sat down at her own station. I joined the Coalition Space Service to see the galaxy. Instead, I'm watching empty space. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. He had said the same thing when he first arrived. At least it's peaceful. Some people are fighting pirates or dealing with diplomatic. His console erupted with alarms. Red lights flashed across every screen. The sound was so loud that Bora dropped her coffee cup. Hyunwoo's hands flew across the controls, trying to understand what was happening. What is that? Bora shouted over the alarms. Hyunwoo's mouth went dry. Something just appeared in Sector 7. Something big. His fingers moved faster, pulling up more data. This can't be right. The size readings are impossible. It's showing an object 3 kilometers long. A ship? Bora was already running her own scans. It's not in any database. The energy signature is. I've never seen anything like this. Hyunwoo activated the emergency channel. Sentinel-7 to Commander Tae Yang. We have an unidentified contact. Sir, you need to see this immediately. Within minutes, the station's command center was full of people. Commander Tae Yang stood behind Hyunwoo's station, watching the data stream across the screens. His face was pale. Send everything to Coalition High Command, Tae Yang ordered, and keep trying to contact them. Use every frequency we have. Bora sent out message after message. This is Coalition Monitoring Station Sentinel-7. Please identify yourself. This is Coalition Monitoring Station Sentinel-7. You are entering Coalition space. Please respond. Nothing came back. The massive ship just continued moving through space, silent and dark. On the capital world of Viridian Prime, High Chancellor Kyung-soo was pulled from his sleep by urgent messages. Within an hour, he sat in the emergency council chamber with dozens of other leaders. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the mysterious ship, rotating slowly so everyone could see it from all angles. What are we looking at? Someone asked. Admiral Sang-mi, the Coalition's top military officer, stepped forward. She was a veteran of many small conflicts, but even she looked disturbed. This is a warship. Look at the design. No decorations, no diplomatic markings, nothing wasted. Every part of this ship is built for combat. The armor is thicker than anything we've ever built. Those weapon ports could hold anything from missiles to planet-destroying weapons. But whose warship? Kyung-soo asked the important question. We know every spacefaring species in this galaxy. This design matches nothing in our records. That's what worries me, Sang-mi replied. Unknown ship, unknown weapons, unknown intentions, and it's heading deeper into our space. Kyung-soo made his decision quickly. Send the Harmony's Dawn. Captain Ji-won is our best diplomat. If anyone can make peaceful contact, it's her. The diplomatic ship Harmony's Dawn was beautiful, designed to look non-threatening and peaceful. Captain Ji-won stood on her bridge as they approached the mysterious warship. Even knowing the size from reports, she wasn't prepared for the reality. The alien vessel was enormous, blocking out the stars behind it. Its hull was black as deep space, covered in angular armor that looked like it could stop anything. My God, her first officer whispered. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Start broadcasting, Ji-won ordered. Dr. Min-ho, their best language expert, began sending messages, mathematical sequences, universal greetings in 50 different languages, music, pictures showing coalition worlds, everything they could think of to establish communication. The warship didn't respond. It just kept moving, its massive engines glowing with strange blue light. Commander Woo Jin, head of the security team, watched from the tactical station. "Captain, if that ship decides to attack us, we won't stand a chance. We should keep our distance." "Noted," Jiwon said calmly. "But we need to try. Keep sending messages, Dr. Minho." Back at Coalition headquarters, Professor Young-suk was searching through ancient records. She was a historian who specialized in old civilizations, myths, and legends that most people had forgotten. Something about this ship bothered her. The design felt familiar somehow, like something from a half-remembered dream. She went deeper, into the archives, pulling up files that hadn't been accessed in centuries. Then she found it. A reference to something called the Scourge Wars fought 10,000 years ago. Most of the records were corrupted or destroyed, but fragments remained. And in those fragments, she found mentions of a species called humans. The descriptions were contradictory. Some sources called humans great explorers and friends. Others described them as fierce warriors. But all the records agreed on one thing. Humans had disappeared suddenly after the Scourge Wars ended. No one knew where they went or why. Most modern scholars thought humans were just myths, stories told to explain gaps in ancient history. But what if they weren't myths? What if humans were real, and this ship was proof? Young-suk found something else in the old records. A greeting, protocol, a specific sequence of signals used when humans were part of the galactic community. With shaking hands, she sent the information to Captain Jiwon. On the Harmony's dawn, Dr. Minho received the ancient protocol. "Captain, I have something from Professor Young-suk. It's very old, maybe 10,000 years old. She thinks it might work." "Try it," Jiwon ordered. Minho transmitted the ancient greeting. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, finally, the warship responded. The message was short and used old words that the translation computers struggled with at first, but the meaning was clear. "This is the UNSC Indomitable, lead ship of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. We request meeting with Coalition Assembly. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." Silence filled the bridge of Harmony's dawn. Then everyone started talking at once. Captain Jiwon raised her hand for quiet. "Send this to High Command immediately. Humans are real, and they're back." The news spread through Coalition space like wildfire. Humans, the legendary species from ancient times, had returned, and they had returned in a warship that made the Coalition's most powerful vessels look like toys. The question on everyone's mind was simple. Why now? After 10,000 years of silence, why had humanity chosen this moment to return? And what did they want? Admiral Sang-mi stood in the command center of Coalition military headquarters, watching the holographic display. 47 warships from the Third Fleet were moving into position around the human vessel. It was the largest show of military force the Coalition had assembled in 50 years. Yet looking at the Indomitable, she wasn't sure it would be enough. "Admiral," her assistant said quietly, "Captain Subin is requesting permission for close approach with Silent Arrow." Sang-mi nodded. "Approved. Tell her to be careful." Subin was young for a captain, but she was the best stealth pilot in the fleet. Her corvette, Silent Arrow, could get closer to targets than any other ship without being detected. If anyone could scan the human warship safely, it was her. Silent Arrow crept through space, its engines running on minimal power. Subin watched the Indomitable grow larger on her screens. Even up close, the ship was impressive. The hull was made of something her sensors couldn't identify. The armor shifted slightly like it was alive. Energy ran through the ship in patterns that made no sense to Coalition engineering. "Captain," her science officer, Lieutenant Hae-won, said, "I'm detecting life signs. The ship has a crew. At least 500 people, maybe more." "So it's not automated," Subin said thoughtfully. "They want to be on board when they fight. That tells us something about them." "Captain, I'm also detecting weapon ports. Hundreds of them. Some are small, probably point defense, but others—" Hae-won's voice trailed off. "Some of these could destroy a planet." Subin transmitted all the data back to Admiral Sang-mi, then carefully moved Silent Arrow away from the human vessel. She had seen enough. This ship was built for war on a scale the Coalition had never imagined. On Viridian Prime, the Coalition Council was arguing. Some members wanted to attack the Indomitable immediately, before more human ships arrived. Others insisted on continued diplomatic efforts. High Chancellor Kyung-soo listened to both sides, his face showing the weight of the decision. "We cannot attack without provocation," Ambassador Dong-hyun argued. "They said they come in peace. They haven't fired on any of our ships. If we attack first, we might start a war we cannot win. But if we wait," another council member countered, "more of their ships might arrive. Then it will be too late to defend ourselves." Professor Young-suk stepped forward. "Chancellor, I believe I have information that may help. The ancient records mention why humans left. According to the fragments I found, humanity fought in the Scourge Wars against an enemy called the Devourers. Humans lost billions of people in that war. When it ended, they chose to leave known space. The records suggest they wanted to prepare, to make sure they would never be victims again. Then this ship," Kyung-soo began, "is the result of 10,000 years of preparation." Young-suk finished. "They didn't leave because they were afraid. They left to become strong enough that nothing could threaten them again." The council chamber fell silent as everyone considered this. Finally, Kyung-soo made his decision. "We will meet with them, face to face. Ambassador Dong-hyun, you will lead our delegation. Make arrangements for a neutral location." 2 days later, a small shuttle detached from the Indomitable. It flew to a neutral station, where coalition representatives waited. Commander Woo Jin and his security team were nervous. No one knew what humans looked like now. 10,000 years was a long time. Evolution could have changed them significantly. The shuttle docked. The airlock opened, and humans walked through. They looked surprisingly normal. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. They were taller than many coalition species, with varied skin tones and hair colors. But what struck everyone was their eyes. Human eyes were sharp and intelligent, constantly observing, constantly analyzing. These were not the eyes of prey animals. These were predator eyes. The leader stepped forward. His uniform was crisp and military precise. "I am Commander Jun-ho of the UNSC Indomitable. This is my second officer, Lieutenant Commander Hee-jin, and our chief engineer, Senior Chief Sung-ho. We come in peace, but we come prepared." Ambassador Dong-hyun bowed slightly in greeting. "Welcome. I am Ambassador Dong-hyun of the Galactic Coalition. We have many questions." "I'm sure you do," Commander Jun-ho replied. His voice was calm but firm. 10,000 years is a long absence. You want to know why we left and why we've returned. The answer to both questions is the same: survival." He gestured to a display screen. "Your historians may have found records of the Scourge Wars. Most civilizations tried to forget that terrible time. But humans remember. We fought the Devourers while others fled. We held the line and it nearly destroyed us. We lost entire worlds. Billions of our people died. When the war finally ended, we realized something important. The galaxy is full of dangers. Today it's the Devourers. Tomorrow it might be something else. We decided that humanity would never again face extinction because we were too weak to defend ourselves." "So you left to build weapons?" Ambassador Dong-hyun said slowly. "We left to build a civilization that could survive anything," Jun-ho corrected. "Yes, we built weapons. The Indomitable is one of 12 such ships. But we also built new technologies, new sciences, new ways of thinking. We spent 10,000 years preparing for the day when we would need to defend not just ourselves, but everyone." "Everyone?" Lieutenant Commander Hyejin spoke for the first time. "Commander Jun-ho means that humanity has not forgotten the galaxy we left behind. We may have been gone, but this is still our home. We have been watching from afar. We know about your civilizations, your cultures, your achievements, and we know about your weaknesses." The words were not spoken as a threat, but everyone in the room felt their weight. The coalition had enjoyed 10,000 years of relative peace. They had forgotten how to wage real war. Meanwhile, humanity had spent that entire time preparing for the worst. High Chancellor Kyung-soo, watching the meeting remotely, spoke through a communication link. "What do you want from us, Commander Jun-ho?" "Right now?" "Simply acknowledgement. We want to re-establish diplomatic relations. We want access to trade routes and scientific exchanges. We want to rejoin the galactic community." Jun-ho paused. "But we will not disarm. We will not make ourselves vulnerable. If that makes us uncomfortable allies, so be it. But remember this: the enemies you have forgotten are still out there. And they are coming back." Before anyone could ask what he meant, alarms sounded throughout the station. A panicked voice came over the communication system. "All ships, We have a distress call from Merchant Convoy 7 Delta. They're under attack by Krell raiders. Multiple ships, heavy weapons. The convoy is requesting immediate assistance. Admiral Sangmi's voice cut through the chaos. This is Admiral Sangmi. Third Fleet is too far away. Captain Subin, your ship is closest. Proceed at maximum speed to... This is Commander Junho. The human interrupted calmly. The Indomitable is responding to the distress call. We will handle it. Commander, you don't have authorization, Sangmi began. People are dying, Junho said simply. Then he and his officers were running back to their shuttle. Within minutes, the Indomitable was moving, accelerating at speeds that should have been impossible. The massive warship vanished in a flash of blue light, leaving the coalition representatives staring in amazement. They just made a jump that should take 30 minutes of calculation, someone whispered. They did it in seconds. Ambassador Dong Hyun looked at the empty space where the Indomitable had been. I think we're about to learn what 10,000 years of preparation looks like. Captain Subin pushed Silent Arrow to maximum speed, but she knew she wouldn't arrive in time. Her sensors showed the merchant convoy under heavy attack. 3 Krell heavy cruisers were tearing the convoy apart. The Krell were pirates, brutal and efficient. They would kill everyone, take what they wanted, and disappear before coalition forces could respond. Then something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to tear open and the Indomitable appeared. The human warship materialized right in the middle of the battle, its massive bulk blocking the stars. Subin had never seen a ship move like that. No warning, no energy buildup, just instant translation from one point to another. A transmission went out on all frequencies. Commander Junho's voice was calm and cold. Krell vessels, you have 10 seconds to withdraw. This is your only warning. The Krell responded with weapons fire. It was a mistake they would not survive. The Indomitable's defensive systems came alive. Hundreds of laser turrets began firing in perfect coordination. Every missile the Krell launched was destroyed before it could reach the human ship. Every torpedo was intercepted. The defensive fire was so precise and overwhelming that nothing got through. It was like watching a master artist at work, each movement perfect and economical. Then the Indomitable fired its main weapons. Subin had seen many space battles. She knew energy weapons and plasma cannons, but this was different. The Indomitable launched what looked like simple metal rods, but they were moving at incredible speeds. When they hit the first Krell cruiser, the impact was devastating. The rod punched completely through the ship, and the kinetic energy released was enormous. The Krell cruiser simply exploded, torn apart by the force. The second Krell cruiser tried to raise shields. It didn't matter. The next kinetic round went through the shields like they weren't even there. The cruiser broke in half, atmosphere and debris streaming from the wound. The third Krell cruiser tried to run. Its engines flared as it attempted to jump to faster-than-light speed. Nothing happened. The ship's engines kept firing, but it wasn't going anywhere. The Indomitable was projecting some kind of field that prevented FTL travel. Krell vessel. Commander Junho's voice came again. Your engines are disabled. Your weapons are offline. Surrender your ship, and you will be treated according to coalition law. Resist and you will be destroyed. The Krell surrendered. The entire battle had lasted 47 seconds. 3 heavy cruisers defeated, survivors captured, and the merchant convoy saved. Subin sat in her captain's chair, stunned. She had seen the coalition's best warships in action. None of them could have done what the Indomitable just did. Commander Junho's voice came over the general channel. Coalition vessels, the threat is eliminated. Merchant convoy is secure. We are transferring prisoners to your custody. The message was professional and calm, like stopping pirates was just another day's work. Subin realized that for humans maybe it was. This was what they had spent 10,000 years preparing for. Not to fight pirates, but to fight anything that threatened them. The Krell had just learned a hard lesson about humanity's capabilities. News of the engagement spread through coalition space at the speed of light. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Admiral Sangmi reviewed the combat footage over and over. Each time she watched it, she saw something new. The precision of the human weapons, the speed of their response, the complete confidence in their actions. This was not luck. This was training and preparation at a level the coalition couldn't match. She requested permission to visit the Indomitable, and Commander Junho agreed. When her shuttle docked with the human warship, she was escorted to the Combat Information Center. The room was dark, lit by dozens of holographic displays. Human crew members worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. Everything was clean, organized, and purposeful. Commander Junho greeted her personally. "Admiral Sang-mi, welcome aboard, Commander." Sang-mi got straight to the point. That display of force, was it meant to show us what you can do? Junho met her eyes steadily. "No, Admiral. That was restraint. We used only our defensive systems and secondary weapons. Our main guns were never engaged. If we had considered the Krell a real threat, the battle would have lasted much less time." The words were stated as simple fact, not boasting. Somehow that made them more frightening. "What are your main weapons?" Sang-mi asked. "Classified," Junho replied. "But I can tell you they're designed to destroy things much larger and more dangerous than Krell cruisers. The Indomitable is built to fight threats you cannot imagine." "Then why show us anything at all?" Sang-mi challenged. "You could have let the Krell attack continue. Let us handle our own problems." "Because people were dying," Junho said simply. "Humanity left this galaxy to prepare for war, but we didn't forget why we fight. We fight to protect life. Those merchants weren't our people, but they were people. That's enough." Sang-mi studied the human commander. His uniform was spotless, his posture military perfect. But his eyes showed genuine belief in what he was saying. "You said your main weapons are designed for threats we can't imagine." "What kind of threats?" Junho was quiet for a moment. Then he gestured to a private conference room. "Admiral, there's something you need to know. Something the entire coalition needs to know. Please sit down." Inside the conference room, Junho pulled up a star map. It showed the galaxy and the space beyond it. Red markers appeared in the darkness between galaxies. "These are energy signatures our deep space probes detected 18 months ago. At first we thought they were natural phenomena. But after analysis we realized what they were. Fleet movements. Massive fleet movements." Sang-mi felt a cold sensation in her stomach. "How massive?" "Thousands of ships. Possibly hundreds of thousands. All heading this way." Junho zoomed in on the signatures. "Admiral, the Devourers are returning." The name meant nothing to Sang-mi at first. Then memory clicked. The ancient war, the Scourge Wars. The enemy that had nearly consumed the galaxy 10,000 years ago. That's impossible. They were defeated. Driven away. They weren't defeated, Junho corrected. They were driven off. There's a difference. The Devourers are a consuming swarm. They move from galaxy to galaxy, eating everything in their path. 10,000 years ago they came here. Your ancestors and mine fought them together. We held them off long enough that they moved on to easier targets. But now they're coming back, and you knew this. That's why you returned. Understanding dawned on Sang-mi's face. You didn't come back for trade routes or diplomatic relations. You came back to warn us. We came back because we need each other, Junho said quietly. Humanity spent 10,000 years preparing to fight the Devourers. We built ships like the Indomitable. We developed weapons that can hurt them. We trained for this war, but we can't win alone. No one can. The coalition has numbers, resources, industrial capacity. Together we might stand a chance. Separately, we all die. Sang-mi looked at the star map, at the red markers showing the approaching enemy. How long do we have? At their current speed? 5 years, maybe 6. Junho's expression was grim. We need to convince your leaders. We need to start preparing now. Every day we waste is a day we could have used to build defenses, train soldiers, construct weapons. The Devourers won't negotiate. They won't accept surrender. They'll simply consume everything and everyone. I'll need proof, Sang-mi said. Data, recordings, everything you have. The Council won't believe this without evidence. You'll have it, Junho promised. But Admiral, understand something. The demonstration with the Krell? That wasn't to show off. It was to show you what's possible. When the Devourers arrive, the Coalition needs to be ready to fight like that. Fast, precise, overwhelming. Because anything less than perfection means extinction. The emergency session of the Coalition High Council was chaotic. Some members shouted that Commander Junho was lying, trying to trick the Coalition into giving humans power. Others argued frantically about what to do. High Chancellor Kyungsu let them argue for 10 minutes, then slammed his hand on the table. Enough. His voice cut through the noise. We need facts, not fear. Ambassador Dong-hyun, you've reviewed the data Commander Junho provided. What's your assessment? Dong-hyun stood slowly. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. The data is real. I've had our best scientists verify it. The energy signatures are consistent with massive artificial structures moving through space. The trajectory calculations show them entering our galaxy in approximately 5 to 6 years. And Professor Youngsuk has found supporting evidence in ancient records. Professor Youngsuk activated a holographic display. Old text appeared, fragmentary and damaged, but readable. These are records from the Scourge Wars. Most archives were destroyed or corrupted over time, but I found enough to confirm the basic story. 10,000 years ago, a hostile force called the Devourers attacked this galaxy. They consumed entire worlds. The war lasted for decades and killed billions. Every major civilization fought together and barely survived. She pulled up more images. Humans were mentioned repeatedly in these records as fierce fighters who held critical defensive positions. When the Devourers finally withdrew, humans left the galaxy soon after. Most scholars thought humans were myths because we had no physical evidence. Until now. So they're telling the truth, someone said quietly. About the threat, yes, Kyung-soo said. The question is, what do we do about it? Admiral Sangmi, your assessment? Sangmi stood. Her military bearing was evident in every movement. Chancellor, we are not prepared for this kind of war. Our fleet is designed for patrol work and minor conflicts. We haven't fought a major war in over 5,000 years. If the humans are right about the scale of the threat, we need to start preparing immediately. And we need their help. Help that comes at what price? A council member demanded. They want us to trust them, to share our resources, to integrate their weapons into our systems. How do we know this isn't an elaborate plan to take control of the coalition? Because if they wanted control, they wouldn't need an elaborate plan, Sangmi said bluntly. One ship, the Indomitable, defeated 3 Krell cruisers in less than a minute. They have 12 ships like that, plus supporting vessels. If humans wanted to conquer us, they could do it. Instead, they're warning us about a common enemy. Kyung-soo made his decision. We will verify their claims with our own eyes. Prepare a scientific expedition to the coordinates they provided. If we find evidence of this Devourer fleet, we'll know they're telling the truth. The expedition departed 3 days later. The research vessel was called Research Prime, commanded by scientist Commander Yoon-ji. She was one of the Coalition's best explorers and researchers. The Indomitable escorted them along with Captain Soo-bin's Silent Arrow. The journey took them beyond mapped space, into the dark regions between spiral arms where few ships ever traveled. These coordinates are in the middle of nowhere, Yoon-ji muttered as they traveled. If this is a trick, it's an elaborate one. But it wasn't a trick. When they arrived at the designated location and activated their long-range sensors, what they found made everyone fall silent. The sensors showed thousands of contacts. Huge contacts, each one the size of a coalition dreadnought or larger. They were moving in formation, coordinated like a hunting pack. The shapes were strange, organic-looking rather than mechanical. And there were so many of them. My God, Yoon-ji whispered. There must be tens of thousands of them. Commander Junho's voice came over the communication channel. Those are Devourer bioships. Each one is a living organism, engineered for war and consumption. They don't build their ships. They grow them. And they're self-replicating. Every world they consume gives them resources to create more ships. How do you fight something like that? Soo-bin asked from Silent Arrow. With everything you have, Junho replied. And even then, victory isn't guaranteed. That's why we need the coalition. We need your industrial capacity, your numbers, your resources. Humanity has the weapons and the knowledge. You have the infrastructure. Together we might survive. Separately, we're all dead. The evidence was undeniable. When Yoon-ji transmitted her findings back to Viridian Prime, the Council's resistance collapsed. An emergency summit was called. Every major civilization in the coalition sent representatives. And Commander Junho presented humanity's proposal. We're proposing a complete military alliance, Junho explained. Humanity will share our weapon technology, our ship designs, our tactical training. In exchange, the coalition will provide manufacturing capability and personnel. We need to build a fleet capable of meeting the Devourers in battle. That means thousands of new ships, millions of trained soldiers, and a unified command structure. You're asking us to militarize our entire civilization, someone objected. I'm asking you to survive, Junho countered. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't accept surrender. They consume everything in their path. Every ship, every station, every planet. If we're not ready when they arrive, this galaxy becomes their feeding ground. Admiral Sangmi stood beside him. I've reviewed the human battle plans. They're sound. More than sound, they're brilliant. But they require total commitment. Every shipyard needs to start producing warships. Every training academy needs to expand. Every civilization needs to contribute. This isn't just humanity's war or the Coalition's war. This is everyone's war. High Chancellor Kyung-soo looked around the chamber. I call for a vote. All in favor of the military alliance with humanity? The vote was unanimous. Fear and survival instinct overcame all objections. The transformation began immediately. Shipyards that built merchant vessels started producing warships. Peaceful researchers became weapons designers. Young people who had never considered military service began training for war. The Coalition was changing, evolving from a peaceful union into a war machine. 6 months later, humanity's full fleet arrived. 11 more ships like the Indomitable emerged from faster-than-light travel, accompanied by troop carriers, factory vessels, and support ships. The sight was both inspiring and terrifying. This was humanity's full strength revealed at last. Fleet Admiral Soo-jin commanded the human forces. She was older than Jun-ho, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much combat. When she met with Kyung-soo and Sang-mi, her message was clear. Humanity has bet everything on this alliance. We've shown you our fleet, shared our technology, revealed our capabilities. If the Coalition fails to prepare adequately, both our civilizations face extinction. But if we work together, if we trust each other, we can win this war. Kyung-soo extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. Then let's get to work. We have 5 years to prepare for the fight of our lives. Admiral Sang-mi was given overall command of Coalition forces, with Commander Jun-ho as her strategic advisor. Together, they began the monumental task of building a defense that could stop the Devourers. Ship production increased tenfold. Training programs ran around the clock. New weapons platforms were constructed in deep space. Ancient rivalries between Coalition species were set aside. The galaxy united against a common threat. Captain Subin found herself commanding an entire squadron now, her corvettes fitted with human weapons. Fleet Captain Jae-min oversaw the construction of new battle groups. Lieutenant Commander Hye-jin trained Coalition officers in human tactics. Senior Chief Sung-ho worked with Coalition engineers to upgrade existing vessels. Everyone worked with desperate urgency. They all knew the clock was ticking. Somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, the Devourers were coming. And when they arrived, the galaxy would face its greatest test. 3 years passed in a blur of construction and training. The defensive line stretched across the galactic rim grew stronger every day. Weapons platforms, minefields, sensor arrays, and forward bases formed an enormous barrier. The combined fleet now numbered over 5,000 warships, mixing Coalition vessels with human technology. But everyone knew it might not be enough. The Devourers were coming in numbers that dwarfed anything the galaxy had prepared. The real test was still ahead, and it was approaching fast. The alert came at 0400 hours Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Jun-ho was already awake on the bridge of the Indomitable when the sensors detected them. The Devourer Vanguard had arrived early, crossing into the galaxy at multiple points along the defensive line. All ships to battle stations, he ordered calmly. Around him, the Indomitable's crew moved with practiced efficiency. 3 years of constant training had made them into a perfect war machine. Alert Admiral Sang-mi and Fleet Admiral Soo-jin. The war has begun. Across the defensive line, thousands of ships received the same alert. Captain Subin's squadron launched from their carrier. Fleet Captain Jaemin's battle group powered up weapons. Coalition and human forces alike prepared for the fight they had trained for. The first contact occurred in the frontier sector, near a colony world called Haven. A Devourer scout fleet of 50 bioships emerged from faster-than-light travel and immediately began moving toward the inhabited planet. The local defense forces engaged, but their weapons had little effect. The bioship's organic armor absorbed energy fire and regenerated damage within minutes. First Defense Fleet, prepare for jump, Admiral Jun-ho commanded. The Indomitable and 20 other warships vanished from their position and reappeared near Haven. The sight of human vessels arriving brought hope to the desperate defenders. Jun-ho studied the Devourer bioships on his tactical display. They were exactly as humanity's records described them. Living vessels that moved through space like hunting animals, coordinating their attacks with frightening intelligence. Each bioship was covered in thick armor that looked like dark green scales. Weapon ports dotted their surfaces, organic cannons that fired concentrated beams of destructive energy. All ships fire at will. Target the larger bioships first. Junho's order was relayed instantly. The combined fleet opened fire. Human kinetic weapons proved their worth immediately. The high-velocity rounds punched through the bioship armor where energy weapons had failed. The organic material couldn't regenerate fast enough to heal the massive kinetic damage. Devourer bioships began dying, their hulls torn apart by impacts that released enormous energy. But the Devourers adapted quickly. They began moving erratically, making themselves harder targets. They coordinated their return fire, focusing on individual coalition ships and overwhelming their shields. The battle became a brutal exchange of fire, ships exploding on both sides. Captain Subin's squadron darted through the battle space, their small size and speed making them difficult targets. They struck at damaged bioships, finishing off vessels that larger warships had wounded. Subin had learned to think like the humans, to fight with speed and precision, rather than just firepower. Squadron leader to all units, she transmitted. The bioships are regenerating damage. We need to destroy them completely or they'll just heal and keep fighting. Concentrate fire one target at a time. The battle raged for hours. The Devourers were testing the defense, learning about coalition and human capabilities. They probed for weaknesses, tried different tactics, and studied how their enemies responded. It was frightening how intelligent they were, how quickly they learned and adapted. Admiral Junho watched the tactical display carefully. He had studied Devourer tactics from ancient records, but seeing them in action was different. These creatures were pure predators, evolved or engineered for one purpose: consuming and destroying. Every move they made was calculated to maximize damage while preserving their own forces. They're withdrawing, Lieutenant Commander Haijin reported from her station. Sure enough, the surviving Devourer bioships were retreating, jumping back into faster-than-light travel. The Coalition forces had won, but the cost was heavy. 7 Coalition ships destroyed completely, 3 human vessels heavily damaged, thousands of crew members dead. And this was just the vanguard, a scouting force. The main Devourer fleet was still coming. Admiral Sang-mi arrived at Haven 12 hours later. She toured the damaged ships, spoke with survivors, and reviewed battle recordings. Her expression was grim when she met with Admiral Junho and Fleet Admiral Sujin in the Indomitables conference room. "We won the battle," she said. "But if this was just a scouting force, we're in trouble." They adapted too quickly. They learned from every mistake. By the time the main fleet arrives, they'll know exactly how to fight us. That's why we need to hit them before they reach the defensive line, Fleet Admiral Sujin said. "Let me take the human fleet and intercept their main force. We can slow them down, make them pay for every light year they advance." "No," Junho said firmly. "That's exactly what they want. They'll draw us out, separate us from the defensive line, and destroy us in deep space. We need to fight on our terms, not theirs. Force them to come to us where we have the advantage of prepared positions and support." Analysis of the battle revealed concerning intelligence. The Devourer main fleet was even larger than initial estimates. Long-range sensors now showed over 200,000 bioships, all heading toward Coalition space. It was an invasion force large enough to overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers. High Chancellor Kyung-soo addressed the entire coalition in a broadcast that reached every inhabited world. "The enemy has arrived. We knew this day would come. We have prepared for it. Now we must face it together. Every species, every world, every person must stand united. This is not just a military war. This is a war for survival. And we will survive." Aboard the Indomitable, the mood was tense but determined. The crew knew what was coming. They had trained for this their entire lives. Their grandparents had trained for this. 300 generations of humanity had prepared for the day when the Devourers returned. Admiral Junho stood on the bridge, looking at the star map. The red markers showing the Devourer fleet were getting closer every hour. In 3 weeks, maybe 4, they would reach the defensive line. Then the real war would begin. Lieutenant Commander Haijin approached him quietly. "Sir, the crew is asking if we're going to win." Junho considered the question carefully. "Tell them the truth. This will be the hardest fight in galactic history. We'll lose ships. We'll lose friends. Some of us won't survive. But humanity didn't spend 10,000 years preparing to lose. We came back to this galaxy to defend it, and that's exactly what we're going to do." He turned to face his crew. "Everyone listen. In a few weeks, the Devourers will arrive in force. They think they can consume this galaxy like they've consumed others. They think we're prey. They're wrong. We're not the civilizations they fought 10,000 years ago. We're stronger. We're united. And we have something they don't have. The will to protect what's ours. Senior Chief Sung Ho spoke up from the engineering station. Sir, the ship is ready. All systems optimal. Weapons charged. Engines at full capacity. The Indomitable is built for this. Good, Junho replied, because we're about to show the galaxy what 10,000 years of preparation looks like. Across the defensive line, every ship took position. Human warships formed the core, their advanced weapons ready to engage. Coalition vessels surrounded them, thousands of ships creating a wall of steel and determination. Weapons platforms activated, minefields armed, sensor arrays watched the darkness for the approaching enemy. And then they appeared. The Devourer main fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in a coordinated emergence that covered thousands of cubic kilometers. The sensors went wild trying to track them all. 200,000 bioships, maybe more, all moving in perfect coordination like a single organism. All ships. Admiral Sangmi's voice rang out across every channel. This is it. Hold the line. No matter what happens, hold the line. For every world behind us, for every person depending on us, we will not break. First Defense Fleet, Admiral Junho added. Weapons free. Show them why they should have stayed away. The first Devourer bioships entered weapons range. The defensive line erupted with fire. Thousands of weapons discharged simultaneously, filling space with deadly energy. Kinetic rounds, energy beams, missiles, and torpedoes streaked toward the enemy. The Devourers returned fire, their organic weapons blazing with destructive force. The war for the galaxy had begun. And in the command center of the Indomitable, Admiral Junho watched the battle unfold with calm focus. This was the moment humanity had prepared for across 300 generations. This was why they had left. Why they had built ships that could conquer the unconquerable. Why they had returned when the galaxy needed them most. The Devourers were about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity had not returned as victims. They had returned as protectors, and they would defend this galaxy with everything they had built, everything they had learned, and everything they had become. The battle was just beginning, but for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy had hope. Because humanity was here, and humanity never surrendered.